Today we're going to talk about how to get your first paid gig. Maybe you are somebody who wants to turn their hobby into a career. Maybe you always wondered how you can earn money playing the music that you love. In this video, we're going to go through what songs that you should learn, what audience you should play for, what kind of gear you need, how to get started, everything from A to Z on turning your hobby into a full-time career. This is something that is completely out of the ordinary, something that is completely against everything that I was taught growing up and everything that I was taught to think that, this is the right path to follow in life. Because I did everything the right way. I went to college, I studied architecture, I did very well there, I got an internship, I got a job that paid really well. I was using my degree. I had 2 degrees in technology studies, and I was using that degree. 3 years later, the economy shifted, and I was laid off, and I was screwed. And I basically went from one job to another just to pay my bills, and my skills that I had learned in college eventually became obsolete, and I couldn't get a job in my field anymore. So I went from one sales job to another sales job to another sales job to another dead-end job to this and back and forth. Maybe you're somebody who's burnout. Maybe you're somebody who wants to look for something a little bit more fulfilling in your life. Maybe you're looking to do work that you love to do and really creating a meaningful experience for somebody else. I hated working for somebody else. I hated waking up in the morning, having to go to work, having to talk to my boss, having to sell a product that I really didn't care about, and then coming home at the end of the day feeling miserable and feeling drained and cracking open a beer and just sitting there and just basically decompressing. And I just hated that feeling. And it seemed like I'd go from one job to another job with the same drained feeling and emotions. And I always wondered, how could I possibly just make money playing music? How could I make money doing what I love to do, which was always playing the guitar, and that was because of my grandfather. I always wanted to play the guitar, but I didn't know how to make that jump from hobby to career. So in this video, we're going to give you some tips on how you can get started turning your hobby into that income and coming home at the end of your day feeling refreshed, feeling happy, and really feeling and knowing that you made a difference in somebody's life. Here's what we're not going to talk about. I'm not talking about you having to join a band. I'm not talking about you having to go and create a demo tape and a CD to pass around to all the different bars and restaurants and coffee shops around town. I'm not talking about you having to do anything as far as the creation of a demo or a product or a flyer or anything to kind of spread the word about what you're about. Initially, I thought that's what you had to do, but today's video we're going to talk about reaching out to a completely different venue, senior communities. And this is where I play, and this is where my bread and butter is, playing for senior communities, memory care communities, nursing and rehabilitation, assisted living, independent living. There is a ton of them. The first thing that you're going to do is, wherever you're located, you want to get on Google and you want to find your city and you want to type in senior communities. There's going to be a bunch of things that pop up, and you want to make a list. And put a piece of paper in front of you and make a list of 10 different communities that you see, from the nursing, what I just mentioned about nursing, assisted living, rehabilitation, independent living. You want to write down their name, you want to write down their phone number. You want to call each one of those communities and you want to schedule a gig. How do you do that? Basically, you give a call, you ask for the activities director, and you start talking with them about what you're trying to do and being completely honest about what you're trying to do. You want to share music with their residents, you want to make everybody happy, cheer everybody up, and you're looking to just share a meaningful experience with them and visit with them for a little while and share the music that you love. Reaching out to community and booking a show is a lot easier than you may think. At the beginning, when you're doing this, I want you to offer your first services for free. I want to come in there and cheer up your residents. When you first start reaching out to communities, you're not going to get too much resistance because typically the activities person is always looking for somebody new to bring in to share music with their residents. You want to talk with the activities director because they're the person that typically does the scheduling. They may ask you something like, sounds great, we'd love to have somebody new come in. What are your rates? At the beginning, I typically charge anywhere from $35 to $75 at the beginning. You want to book your first show, you want to be courteous, you want to be polite. Sometimes, if you just want to do the show and get some experience, you can say, I'd be happy to do this very first show for free. Awesome. Now you have your first show booked. You want to go down your list of those 10 communities, make every phone call, reach out, say basically the same thing. My name is Chris. I'm looking to share music with your community. Do your residents ever enjoy a new entertainer? I play folk music and country music, and I sing, play a little harmonica, a little bit of guitar, and I want to cheer everybody up and share the music that I love with your community. I've never got a chance to visit before, so I wanted to reach out and introduce myself to you guys. How do you create your scheduling? Something along those lines. Next thing you probably want to think of after you've gotten through that list of 10 different communities, you want to start thinking about your repertoire of songs. What types of songs should you learn? You don't want to really reinvent the wheel here. You want to think about the music that you already play, the music that you already love, but you want to tailor some of those songs that you currently love and know to the genre that the seniors will know. If you're somebody that is into playing folk music and country music, and maybe even classical music sometimes is timeless. Maybe you have a repertoire of songs that has always worked in any venue that you play at. But what I want to encourage you to do is to learn music from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. What songs should you learn? You want to think about songs that are songs that you can sing along with, songs that the seniors love to basically hear and make them feel good and remind them of a time when they were younger, when they were happier, when they were healthier. You want to think about music that perhaps your parents, your grandparents listened to. Here's the advice what I want to give you about learning a new song. Basically, think about the style of music that you play. Try to match the style of music that you play with a genre of music. Now think about music in that genre that was top 10 hits, or something that was in one of the top 10 movies in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. Just a quick little list of songs that I typically find that are a hit. You're My Sunshine, Que Sera Sera, Edelweiss, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, What a Wonderful World, anything by Elvis. I throw a Blue Suede Shoes in there and that works all the time. Throw some Roy Orbison, Pretty Woman. You can jump around quite a bit and find out what works for you based on experience. Look at the music on Google that has been on the top charts in those decades. And that is something that typically works. I find that a lot of John Denver stuff works. Of course, Country Roads, James Taylor stuff works quite a bit. Playing some Jim Croce, looking at other artists from that same genre, that same time period, typically works really well. I find that playing solo is the best way to go, because if you make a mistake, when you make a mistake, it's just you that you need to worry about. You can only control yourself. You can't control a band, and typically the space there that is allowed for you is not that big, although they do have sometimes performers come in that have whole bands with them. It's a lot easier if you're just a solo performer. So learning these songs and basically tailoring them to a solo player versus a whole band is the way to go. Next thing you might want to think about, what kind of gear that you need. Keep it simple. You don't need anything too crazy. With my guitar, I bring an amplifier, I bring a mic, I bring the cables to connect those things, I bring the stands, I bring my own stool, and that's basically it. Go in there, I can play anywhere. You want to remember to be flexible and be okay playing inside. Sometimes they have gigs outside. Typically bring the gear in that you feel most comfortable when you're practicing with, bring the instrument that you've practiced with, always bring the same stuff that you've practiced with on the road with you when you do a show. One of the mistakes I want to encourage you not to make, like I did at the beginning, is trying to make everything perfect and trying to predict what is going to happen. You want to be flexible. Your audience is not looking for you to impress them. They're looking for you to connect with them. So always be mindful that you're there to serve them. You're there to make them feel good. You're there to cheer them up. You're not necessarily there to play every song that you have perfectly. Go there, do your best, and every gig you're going to improve just a little bit more. How do you make a really good impression at a senior community so that you get booked again? You don't want to think about the show starting right at showtime. The show begins when you pull into the parking lot. You don't know who is looking at you from the window. You don't know who is there walking past you. You don't know who is around you or anything in that area particularly. Even if you're from that town, you may not go to that neighborhood. You may have never visited this community before. So I always keep the mindset of the show begins as soon as I arrive in my truck. I'm unloading my stuff. I walk into the community, meet the receptionist, always have a positive attitude, be cordial, and be excited to be there. You want to build rapport with everybody that you see. And even if you don't talk to them, you want them to see you, and you want them to see you happy and excited to be there with them. So during the show, I want you to build rapport. You might play a song. Now you want to connect with the audience a little bit, tell them a little bit about yourself, tell a short little story as you transition to the next song. Play that song, tell another little story, or play 2 or 3 more songs, tell another little story, a little snippet, or this is what happened to you and why you decided to learn this song for them. Get into the song and get them singing and tapping their toes and basically trying to engage them in such a way that makes it feel like more of a visit than it does a show. I want to encourage you to play at senior communities because this audience really wants to hear you. Typically, they're always welcoming of new entertainers to come in and serenade them, and that has a different passion for playing music for them in a different way. You want to play songs that they've heard before, but you want to play them your own way. So always thinking about, what can I play for them that makes them feel good and makes them smile. So here's what you can take away from this video, from the simple tips that I've given you. I want you to not necessarily look at trying to immediately make a full-time living playing your instrument, whether it's a guitar, or whether it's a piano, or whether it's whatever. I want you to look at slowly building a book of business. You may have a full-time job right now, and you may have just a short period of time. Perhaps you just work on the week and you just have the weekends. Perhaps you work just nights and maybe you just have the beginning of the day open and available. I want you to reach out to those communities that we talked about in the beginning and schedule 2 shows every week. Schedule 2 shows at the most ideal time for you. Sometimes you may have to do a show for free. Sometimes you may have to do a show for maybe $25 or $50 for them to try you out. But the more shows you do and the more experience you get, the more you'll build your rapport of songs, the better you'll get performing and playing them, the higher in demand that you're going to be. So at the beginning, I was working maybe 25 hours a week cleaning pools part-time and building my gig schedule in between the times when I was cleaning pools. So I would basically do a show in the morning. In the afternoon, I'd go to a place called Clearwater Pool and Spa, and I would clean pools for the rest of the evening. The next day, I had pools in the morning, and then I cleaned in the morning, and then after my job in the morning, then I'd have gigs in the afternoon. Maybe you're somebody who works a traditional 9-to-5 job, and you just have a Saturday morning to play, or you just have a Sunday afternoon to play. Get into these communities. Have the mindset of, I'm going to be there and I'm going to make everybody happy and I'm going to share my music, and you will be surprised where that brings you. There are so many communities out there, more than you think that there are. And begin branching out, build those bigger circles around your hometown, 5-mile radius, 10-mile radius, 20-mile radius, and start going to all these different communities and visiting them, and pretty soon you'll find yourself building momentum and being in higher demand, and people will want to have you not just once or twice a year. They'll want to have you maybe once a quarter. Sometimes communities will book you once a month. So I'll wrap up this video right now and say you can do this. You can make that jump from hobby to full-time career. It's a little bit easier than you think. It does take time to build your book of business, but if you have a passion for music and you've always wanted to find out how you can turn your music into a full-time career, then implement these steps that I've just given you, and I'm going to see you on the next video. Have a great afternoon. Take care.